Hi everyone, no major news today, so let's take a look at these charts. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Looking at fear and greed, we stepped up to a 51 from a 49 despite markets not really moving a whole lot. You can see we're kind of leveling off at some major resistance, that 50 line there. Momentum also leveling off at this triple top. We've been talking about it. It seems like we're going to hit resistance quite soon. And then we got strength, extreme greed, breadth, extreme greed. Put call ratio, been pulling back, but it's currently in fear. As this trends lower, it's going to step into neutral. And then looking at volatility, it's been hovering, but it actually stepped up here today as markets basically hovered or fell slightly. And then safe haven demand and junk bond demand, both in extreme fear. Bonds have been outperforming over the last couple of days. And you can see people still are not buying up these junk bonds the same way that we are looking at investment grade bonds. So markets definitely mixed as we head into this FOMC, but equities seem quite greedy. Looking at seasonality, it was supposed to be a slight pullback here today for the NASDAQ, and it was. The next day is also supposed to be slightly bearish all the way up until the 18th, which of course we get the FOMC that day. It's definitely going to be interesting. And then supposed to be a rally after that. I don't think it's going to happen, but that's what seasonality is saying for the rest of the week. Moving over to the Fed futures, look at this. We're at a 66% now for a 50 basis points cut. A week ago it was 28%. Yesterday it was 50. Now we're at 66. This continues to trend higher. I still don't think it's going to happen, but the Fed futures are usually pretty accurate. I don't know the last time that we've seen them go against the Fed futures, especially this close to the actual rate cut. So I still think it's going to be 25. We'll see how this shifts as we head into it. If we get 25, that could be bearish for markets. Markets really believe in a 50 basis points cut. And then we would be going from 4.7 to 5. And then in the next one, 4.5 to 4.7. So another 25 basis points in November. But then the interesting thing here is it goes from 4.5 to 4.7. And then in December, markets are pricing in 4 to 4.25%. So that is another 50 basis points in December from 4.5 to 4.75 to 4 to 4.5. So that is a full 1.25% rate cut before the end of the year. It just seems too aggressive. I guess anything is possible. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just don't think we're going to get 1.25 percentage points before the end of the year. Moving over to the economic calendar, pretty much nothing here for Monday. Tomorrow we do have retail sales. That's definitely going to be interesting. 20-year bond action, Atlanta Fed GDP, not a whole lot. We're looking at Wednesday, of course, this is the big one. CPI for the Eurozone, interest rate decisions, projections for the next couple years, and then of course the FOMC decision. They say the current template is 0.25%, but based on the Fed futures we just saw, now it should be 50 basis points. So we'll see how it plays. Definitely going to be an interesting one this Wednesday. Moving over to Max Pain. Remember, this is a third week options expiration, quadruple witching, 4.1 million options, put call ratio very high at 3.1, call wall and put wall here at 550. Current stock price 561. So based on that, you would expect a little bit of falling. Calls here at 565, 560, 550 like I mentioned, but right in here makes sense, 550 to 560. So about 1.5% lower makes sense to me. We'll see how that plays for the end of the week, but I wouldn't expect too much further than that based on that put call ratio being that high. And these put walls are quite high, 84,000 and 48,000. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, right now you have a triple top here. So you got a top, top two, consolidation, sell. We're here again, right in the same zone. Based on what we talked about this weekend, we're still looking for a little bit of a push to this trend line here, which would be 86.76, or about another 40 points higher or so, which gives you about 1%, 0.75%, something in there. Momentum is bullish, but it seems to be fading a little bit with that basically flat day, 0.13. RSI also flattening out, same RSI read, maybe slightly lower than this previous top, but same price action. So again, divergence doesn't look super great. The trend by all means is bullish. You have a low, higher low, flat tops here. Definitely seems to be waiting for some clear direction. And then looking at the shorter time frames here on the hourly, you can see it was basically flat. We did dip down slightly lower than the consolidation on Friday. Friday, tested the level at 560.07, held that level, rallied into the close, selling after hours, clear consolidation. RSI looks weak, continues to sell. It's below the SMA, momentum bearish there on the hourly chart. So managed to hold gains on the day, but does not look super good on the short time frame. So something to consider there. Does look a little bit bullish. Wouldn't shock me to see a pullback to that 200, which is about 1.5% lower, which actually fits with what we saw on Max Pain. Moving over to the 4-hour chart, you can see we did get that sideways action after hitting that upper ATR band. We're still holding that 8 EMA, which is at 561.45. Once that breaks, I think we're going to pull back to that ATR trailing stop, which again is in that 556.26 area, right back in the middle of the range. These ATR bands are still trending higher, so still a bullish trend. Volume, not much, same as Friday, sideways consolidation at these previous highs. Certainly possible that we just hover in here until we get that decision on Wednesday. Then we get clear direction after that. Also a possibility. But right now, markets seem to be fading in their bullish momentum. Moving over to the NASDAQ, we actually got about a negative 0.5% here, so not super great there. Also inside candle, again, not great. Tested the 21, tested the 55, pulled back slightly. Momentum, basically flat, still technically bullish. RSI pulling back here, looking for that SMA. Overall, does not look great. We were still looking for a test of this trend around that 19,700 area, which from the previous peak was about 1% higher. Now it's a little bit more, about 1.5%. Makes sense based on the 0.5% down move. We'll see if it can make up that movement or if this is going to be another lower high here. If it is, I would expect bigger breakdowns. So critical zone here, again, going into the FOMC. And then looking at that trend here, you can see low, high, lower high. We were above it on, you can see that here on the hourly chart. Broke out Friday, held it on the closing basis, sold below pre-market, retested here at the end of the session, selling in the after hours, momentum bearish, RSI looking, momentum basically flat, but looking bearish, RSI definitely bearish. If this falls here, that 200 is about 1.5%, 1.67, right in that range, which would give you a price target of around 464.9. So something to consider. Seems like we're going to get at least a little bit of a pullback off of this trend. And at this point, it seems like a pretty clear wedge pattern. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, you can see we bought on this up candle here. Since then, it's been a strong rally. We topped out around 475. We've now pulled back slightly. We're below that 8 EMA, which is not great. Generally, that means you're going to pull back to the ATR trailing stop, which is around 467.57. Question is, of course, how long does that take? There was no volume on the day, so don't expect a ton of follow through yet. Momentum slightly bearish. We'll see how it plays. Again, it wouldn't shock me to see this kind of consolidate sideways choppy until the FOMC. So based on that, we can kind of hold this covered call and see what happens. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. The Russell seems to have culminated again here at this lower high. You have a high, lower high, lower high. Seems like this is a wedge pattern as well. It's a little bit wider one, but still a wedge pattern. We'll see if it can push. 218 is the level. Right now it's a gap up doji. If it gaps down, that's going to be an island reversal, and we should expect some more bearishness to come. And then looking at the Dow did exactly what we thought it was going to do. Pushed right to that trend, came up just a hair short, if you even want to call it that, 118.66. The high of day was 118.55. I would call that a touch. Pretty dang close. Momentum still bullish. RSI still bullish. We'll see if it can push through and hit this next one. My guess is that it probably won't, but you never know. Certainly a possibility. Dow continues to make higher highs and higher lows. That's a new all-time high wick and all-time high close. Everything still looks bullish there, while really the rest of markets continue to either wedge up like this or look slightly bearish, more like the NASDAQ. Moving over to the Mag 7, inside candle here, again, not super great. Ended up down 0.19. Didn't get that continuation. We'll see how this plays. For me, this is still a breakout, so we're waiting to see if it has any kind of continuation on that. We had this downtrend line, clear push here on Wednesday last week, continuation, 2 candles. Inside candle, still holding there, tested the level 265.08. See what it does. Clearly finding some resistance here at this previous high from 22 August, so we'll see how it plays. Again, might just consolidate into FOMC. Moving over to stocks that moved here today, we got Oracle and Intel. Oracle's been on a massive jump here going back to Tuesday last week. Huge jump there, 11%, continues to run another 5% here today. And then Intel got some news on another $3 billion being injected into this company from the federal government. Got a big jump, 6.3%. And then you can see after hours, it's up another almost $2 or so. So very big jump there. Looks like a bit of a bottom. Has Intel finally bottomed? This chart is really abysmal. It's fallen all the way down from $50. Got more than cut in half down to 18. Looks awful for sure. But as a short-term trader, there might be a little bit of opportunity there. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft, this is a big concern here for Apple, dropping down 2.78%, 2 3/4. Looks terrible. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish. Broke the level, gapped right through it, 217.62. There's some concerns over iPhone demand, which is still their biggest moneymaker. Right now, support is 211.55. This looks awful, and I do think it's going to continue to sell. Definitely looks like a high, lower high now. Tried to recoup here, again, lower high, sold off of VWAP, 21 EMA. All the short-term EMAs have broken. Support is down here at the 144, down at 197.97. Got some trend support in here, 205 or so, but really this looks bad. Everything looks like it's going to sell on Apple. It's down a smidgen after hours. Microsoft, on the other hand, did rally slightly, 0.17, still holding the level 429.88. As long as that is intact, I would still be bullish here. Of course, it's probably not going to rally super aggressively as the rest of markets seem to be showing some hesitation. Overall, the trend is still bullish, even with the momentum starting to fade a little bit. Still like this as a setup as long as that level holds. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA, both of these ended up selling off a little bit here today. Tesla down 1.5%. Nothing crazy. Momentum did step to bearish, which is a little bit concerning. Still above all the EMAs and SMAs. Similar setup for me as Microsoft. I still like this as a setup. It's still above all of these trends, still technically bullish, but I need to see it break that 232.57 level before I would look for a position here. Once that breaks, I think it's going to 255. But right now it's kind of in a little bit of a hesitation at that resistance area. And then looking at NVIDIA, same thesis here, rejecting off of VWAP, rejecting off the 21 EMA. Still has the 9 as support down there at 111.42 and some trend support right here. If this breaks, I think it's going lower, potentially all the way down to that 106, just like we did back here at the beginning of September. So again, looks like a bit of a high, lower high setup, and markets just cannot regain the upward momentum, in my opinion, unless we get a big surprise out of the FOMC and markets really like it. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet here, we got Amazon selling off 0.86 after touching that 188.61 price target. Gap down, fell some more, almost engulfed the previous candle here from Thursday. Support for me, 181.41, so we'll see what happens there. If that breaks, there's a ton of EMAs and SMAs in that consolidation, but 174.23 would be my next support there. And then looking at Alphabet, still a bullish day, 0.39. This chart overall is not great. Clear move down, bear flag, clear move down. Retesting the zone here, 200 SMA sitting there at 158.63. VWAP, 21 EMA right around that 161 area. Momentum is bullish. RSI looks okay, but this is still a downtrend for me, just retesting some zones. And if it rejects from here, I would expect this to push to a new lower low down around that 143.82 area. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, you can see staples continues to rally, new all-time highs again. Price discovery again continues to rally super aggressively. And then we got discretionaries inside candle. So not super great, didn't hit the price target, starting to sell off, momentum basically flat, RSI selling off slightly. Doesn't look super great. To me, this looks like a bit of a double top or a slightly lower high that's forming. We'll see how that goes. It's just one candle of sideways action after this bullish move, but we'll see how it plays going into tomorrow. Again, might just see hesitation for a couple days into FOMC. Moving over to oil and gas and technology. Oil and gas continues this rally 3 days in a row, momentum rallying to bullish, RSI breaking out. This continues to look super good. I think this is going to push at least into the 130s. Probably going to get a bigger position here tomorrow. We'll see how it plays. I like this setup. Wouldn't shock me to see maybe a higher low setup or a double bottom of some kind. Probably not a V-shape recovery, but still like it. And then looking at technology, similar to everything else, slightly bearish, tested the 55, tested VWAP, didn't hit the trend like we thought that it might. Momentum's okay, RSI pulling back slightly. So again, seems like a high, lower high, potentially another lower high here. Moving over to 20 and 50-day breadth, you can see we did get an increase in breadth, and breadth continues to go strong here, swinging towards that bullish side. RSIs are still bullish, but we're hitting 21 EMA. Interesting. Is it going to lower top? certainly possible. Based on momentum, you wouldn't expect it. We would expect a little bit more continuation here, so certainly possible. Breadth is showing us a little bit more strength, potentially still to come. Similarly with 50-day, continuation slightly. Not huge pushes, did not hit any major trends on the 50-day. 20-day did get above that 68.14 level, which is what we were looking for, so you could argue that breadth is still pointing to a little bit of bullishness, despite markets hesitating at key resistance points. Moving over to the dollar, big down day here for the dollar, retesting these lows. So this is going to be critical here now. You can see the low back here, Friday the 23rd, again here Tuesday the 27th, key bottom, big rally off of that bottom, retested a low, slightly higher low, retested the support here, got a continuation higher, and now we are back here off of this big move down. Is this going to hold? Is this going to be a key zone? It's certainly important for sure. We'll see if it plays. Momentum right now, bullish. RSI looks pretty good on the hourly chart, so maybe this is just a double bottom, slight pullback, and this longer term chart is going to show some bigger zones. Remember, this is back to the lows from December, back to the lows from July of last year. Critical zone as well as that 200 SMA obviously is a big one. We'll see if it swings from here. I still like it a little bit, but if we get a 50 basis points cut, I think the dollar could break through back to the downside. If we get 25, I think we see a slight rally. Moving over to bonds, these just continue to roar to the upside. Bonds continue to look very, very strong. Almost 1% on TLT, 0.21 here on JNK. JNK still rushing towards that 97.69 level. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish. People believe the cuts are coming. They're trying to buy these bonds as fast as possible, and they just continue to rally here. And I think they're going to continue to do so. TLT still struggling with this trend line. My next level would be 102.50. Moving over to the VIX, we did actually get a little bit of a step up here. Momentum still flat, RSI still flat, but step up on the VIX itself. 17.13, a 3.33% move. Bigged it down, slight rally here. Couldn't get above any of these shorter term EMAs, 55 just above it, 21, 9 still up there. But that could be a higher low, interesting. But that could be a higher low setup. Definitely would be interesting if this is a bit of a trend line here. We'll probably add that for the next video. But right now, looks okay. Higher low setup, waiting to see if this has more rally in it. Again, that would fit with the short term bearishness that we're expecting off of those key resistances and today's price action. Moving over to my accounts, I didn't do a whole lot of anything. I did roll my Qs puts down as that trend line broke to the downside, and really I just rolled it down one strike and actually in one day. And then it rallied back a little bit. You can see a slight loser there, but really my max profit is going to be about 474, and we are below that at the closing price, and you can see basically flat here after hours. So I do have a little bit of room to the upside, but really it took off one day. And if we were to hold flat at these levels, all of this $200 would come in. So still giving myself a potential for some money there. And then looking at the Russell, held this position 214, max profit 217.57. We did rally through that a little bit. After hours falling just slightly. Probably going to be patient there. FOMC obviously can throw everything around. So if markets fall on FOMC, I do want to be protected. And then XOP rallied here today, made some money there. I think I managed to actually make a few dollars just barely from my weekend total, but overall relatively flat. Let me know down in the comment section what you think the FOMC is going to do. Will J. Powell cut rates by 50 basis points? Or are we going to stick to the plan with 25 and markets are going to be disappointed? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.